So the first thing we need to do is we need to place our reference scan on a template layer. So we're going to go to the File menu, down to Place, and go Locate our pyramid image, and make sure that Template is checked, and say OK. And you'll notice that it actually puts the image in on a layer of its own titled Template. So we're going to unlock that layer, scale our image up. But before we lock that down, we're going to actually go ahead and put a couple of guides on this artboard to sort of mark the center of the space. Now we could measure out 3.5 inches across and 3.5 inches down, but what I'm going to do is bring up the rulers, and then I'm just going to drag guides out anywhere. I'm going to unlock those guides, and then I'm going to select them, and using my Align tool, make sure Align to Artboard is selected, and I'm going to horizontally align the vertical one, and I'm going to vertically align the horizontal one. And then I'm going to lock those back down. It's just a quicker way of finding the center of our artboard. And then I'm going to tweak the position of my pyramid image here to sort of center it up. And it's important to realize that we're simply using this image as a guide. We're going to build everything off of our center marks. So as we draw, things may not line up precisely right, but it will be a symmetrical image when we're finished. So I'm going to start by laying in a couple of shapes. I'm going to start with the top of the pyramid, and we're going to go to outline mode so we can see what we've got, and then we're going to align that to the center of our artboard. And you'll notice me doing that an awful lot. And I actually work off the center line while I'm building the sides of the pyramid. So by always aligning to center, I'm kind of assured that all of my art elements are going to be centered up and things are going to be clean and square. So just using the direct select tool, I'm simply going to adjust the points of this rectangle by selecting individual ones and moving them around. Remember, just like anything, click on a point, hold down the Shift key and click on another one, multi-select. In this case, I just grab the line and I draw it across to where I want it. And so I got my first step in place. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that, and I'm just going to hold down the Option and Shift keys and drag it, and that will duplicate it down the artboard, roughly into position. All right. What I'm going to focus on is positioning the last one where it's supposed to be, and then having the first one positioned where it's supposed to be. Because then when I select all these, I can go back to my Align tools, Align to Selection, and then I can vertically distribute on the centers and make sure that they're all evenly spaced. And now all I really need to do is go through, and I'm not going to scale these out. I'm actually, with the direct select tool, just going to select the left 2 points, and I'm just going to drag them out into place. And I've created half the pyramid now. So now what I'm going to do is simply select all of those, and I'm just going to reflect them across that center line. So I'm going to go over my transform tools, grab reflect tool, and then I'm going to option click right on my center guide, and I'm going to align it vertically, and I'm going to say copy, because that'll make a duplicate of the originals. If I just say OK, it's just going to move the originals. So now I've got both sides of the pyramid done, and I'm moving on to the steps. So I'm drawing out the first one, and there's a lot of ways to do this, but this is the method I'm going to use for this time around. So I'm going to draw out my first step, and then I'm going to hold down my Option and Shift keys, select it, and drag it down to where my last step goes. Then I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to use the blend tool. So I think rather than going straight to the tool in the toolbar, I'm going to go Object, Blend, Make. And you see it's all solid. That's because Now, if we go back and we double click on our blend tool, you'll see that smooth color is selected. So we're going to change it to specified steps. And I'm going to drop that to 12. And click here. You'll see that it's somewhat aligned up. But if I bump this one more to 13, they all fall right into place. So I want to accept that, say okay. I know they're all evenly spaced. And with that selected, I want to go to my object menu and I want to expand the appearance because I want individual objects for all these steps for my final step of creating a compound path. All right, so I've got my steps and the sides of my pyramid. Oh, and I ungrouped all those just so I have individual shapes. It's a step that'll, whenever I go to make my compound path at the end, I'll be glad I did. So now I'm going to go to the top of our pyramid. And really all I'm going to do is draw a couple of rectangular shapes here. The door to start with. And notice I'm going to draw the door a little bit longer than it needs to be. I'm going to make sure it's centered on my center mark. And then I'm going to select both of these. And I'm going to use the Pathfinder tools. And I'm going to do a minus front. So remember, when you do minus front, it takes the object in the front and subtracts it from the object in the back. So there's my door. And I'm going to do the same combination of things to create these little slits along the side, whatever they are. Columns, I guess. So I'm just going to kind of draw that shape out. And I'm going to assume that they're the same height as the door. And then I'm just going to drag it into place. And then to make sure that it's placed symmetrical and placed the same on the other side, I'm going to go to my reflect tool, option click on my center guide, and say copy. And now one at a time, I'm going to select the top of my pyramid in the first thin rectangle, and I'm going to do minus front. And then I'm going to select the second rectangle, and we'll take a moment and go to my arrange tools and bring it to the front to make sure that it's on top. Because remember, minus front will subtract whatever's on top from the object in the back. All right, so we've created our top of our pyramid. And last but not least, I'm going to select all of these shapes. And I'm going to go to my object menu, compound path, make. And now if I go take a look in my layers panel, we'll see if I open up my pyramid layer, I have all my artwork as a single compound path. Then I'm going to delete my reference scan. I'm going to select my pyramid, make sure it's centered on my artboard. Clean, neat, centered presentation is what we always look for. And that's all. We'll save the file, and we're done.